the Indian economy, where is it heading for, and what should be done. So all of us are aware that the gross domestic product of India fell by a massive 23.9%, around 24% in the Q1 of this financial year. The Q1 means April to June 2020. So this is a expected decline because the country was under one of the strict lockdowns for 2 months of this financial year, especially the 2 months of the first quarter. Well, the Oxford University Stringency Index that measured the strictness with which the lockdown was implemented rated India as one of the very strict lockdowns. So therefore, it is obviously expected that the GDP will contract when there is complete shutdown of the economy. So nothing surprising in it. So that's therefore, so Indian GDP will continue to contract in the second quarter also, because people expected that the second quarter will bounce back. But the current figures reveal we have come to the end of the second quarter. First, tell you that this decline is obviously expected, and people expected that the second quarter would be much better, but the official data is yet to be released because the second quarter ended on September 30th. So it will take some more time to get the Q2 data. But the unofficial estimates indicate that the Q2 will also be in a negative territory. It is expected that it may be somewhere around minus 12%. So which is certainly better than the first quarter, because first quarter was a complete washout. But still, the recovery is unlikely to be significant, because people expected that the pent-up demand, the compressed demand due to lockdown, will suddenly be released in the market. But that did not happen, especially the consumption seemed to have decelerated from the second half of August. Quite unfortunately, even the discretionary spending and the luxury spending is also not picking up. There are reasons for this. Perhaps the first reason is the still prevailing uncertainty on the health front and uncertainty on the economy front. We are nowhere seeing the peak of the corona cases. So obviously, when things are so uncertain, the economy is most unlikely to pick up. Well, there are estimates of the economic contraction in this entire financial year, but these estimates are varying. The State Bank of India research wing puts it at minus 10.9%. Well, the others put it at a much higher level, like the Goldman Sachs says it will be around minus 14.8%. Well, there are even estimates that feel that the Q1 GDP decline will be more than 24%. The official figure says it is 24%. But the chief statistician of India and a distinguished economist, Pranav Bardhan, estimated it to be around minus 32% also. So that means there are varying estimates of the possible economic contraction at the end of the financial year. Well, but there is certain unanimity among the economists of all hues. The unanimity is on two counts. Firstly, the economic growth, the GDP growth, will certainly be in negative territory. The question of the positive growth doesn't even arise. Nobody estimates it, whether official or unofficial. Nobody estimates a positive growth rate. So obviously, every other estimate says that the GDP growth will be in a negative territory. So that is the first unanimous opinion. The second unanimous opinion is the 2021 will be the worst financial year in the history of Indian economy. Why is it the worst financial year? Well, the reason for this is there were four financial years in the history of India since independence where the economy slipped into the negative territory. So, but the first time it will be much more severe contraction than in the past 4 years. In the 4 years which I was mentioning, not the past, but the 4 years where the economy fell into negative territory. So the conclusion of all this data reveals that the economy growth rate is unlikely to recover at least in this financial year, and any recovery is expected only in 2021-22. And this decline is much more pervasive than any other decline. When I say it is pervasive, almost every sector of the economy suffered a significant contraction. The employment intensive sectors like construction suffered a 50% decline. The other employment intensive sectors like trade, transport, hotels suffered a contraction of 47%. The private fixed capital formation, which is an indicator of the level of investment in the economy, declined also by 47%. The manufacturing sector fell by 38%. The mining declined by 30%. The exports suffered a contraction of 20%. So therefore, the private consumption, which is critical in a country like India, which is known for its vast domestic market, has also suffered a decline of 26.7%, a contraction which is minus 20, it is in the minus 26.7%. So this is the indication. So when I say decline, it is a decline into the negative territory. So decline into negative territory, or we popularly called it the contraction. So when the private consumption expenditure declines, it has an impact on the spending. So obviously when spending declines, production declines. When production declines, jobs decline. When jobs decline, the incomes fall. When incomes fall, consumption will again decline. The economic survey calls this as a vicious circle. So Indian economy is now in a vicious cycle, and this cycle needs to be broken. So that is the first point which I wanted to tell you. So when we this as far as these aspects are concerned, there's no difference of opinion, whether official or unofficial. Everybody accepts this because these are essentially facts put out in the public domain by the government sources. So what is the impact of this economic recession? So it is not just numbers. When we look at economics, it's not just numbers. There are lives behind it. There are livelihoods behind it. There's a lot of agony behind it. As a result of this economic contraction, there's a massive job cuts and wage cuts happening across several sectors, including the most attractive, alluring sector like information and communication technology. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMI, estimates that around 2.10 crore salaried jobs were lost due to this contraction in the economy. So salary jobs, when I mean not the government employees alone, not even the organized sector employees alone, even the maid servant who works with you or your own driver come under the category of salary jobs because they get a monthly salary. So the over 2 crore salary jobs have been lost due to this GDP contraction. 66 lakh, it's a massive figure, 66 lakh white collar jobs have simply disappeared. These white collar jobs, not just the clerical kind of jobs, and many of these are even professional jobs like accountants, software engineers, etc., have also lost their jobs during this period. So the economic contraction is more, has to be seen not just in statistical terms, it has to be seen in its humanitarian terms. So it's a very big human tragedy is unfolding. This human tragedy is exemplified by the melancholic stories of migrant labor walking for hundreds of kilometers to reach home. So there are around 90 lakh interstate migrant workers according to the economic survey, and there are another 13 part, the total put together, if we even include the intrastate migrant labor, the labor which who travel from one part of the state to the other part of the state, the total number of migrant laborers are 13.9 million or 1.4 crore people. So this is a massive figure. So 14 crore people. So there are 13.9 crore or nearly 14 crore migrant labor who include 90 lakh interstate migrant and also intrastate migrant labor. So therefore, the economic decline is not just a concern of the economist, it's a concern of the nation as a whole, not just the policymaker. The common man in the street is also severely impacted by this massive erosion in the livelihoods of the people.